Okay, so right, to make this game work like it is, I've set up a collider on the bullet, and when that bullet collides with my enemy's collider, their animation to die gets triggered, right? So I can, if I shoot the gun, and the aim's a bit off.
Yeah, actually been.
So, but you can see one of them died.
Is that? Can you make a crosshair in it?
That would be a good idea. That's probably some. Yeah. Anyway, there's something messed up about the what?
These are opposition.
Yeah, they're the opposition. So, in the tutorial 6, you have to create one of these enemies, right? And these enemies have like an object called NavMesh agent, and they have an agent script, and they navigate towards the goal, and the goal is you, and they just come running after you. So if you if you set the bullet, if you look at the bullet here, what I've done is I've set something called a tag on the bullet, and when that tag collides with the enemy agent's death animation is triggered, and he stops moving. They don't have health pods, but it would be a good idea to add them. There's all sorts of things you can do. So there's a special function with all classes in Unity called onTriggerEnter. You can see more about that if you go to their documentation page and you look it up. You go to onTriggerEnter. You can read about it here, and basically this function will get triggered when a collision occurs, right? However, what you need to do, you need to set up a few things on the. So you see this green thing surrounding your enemy there, yeah, like that. That's his collider. Yeah. So if I click on that edit thing, I can like change the size of the his collider. Like click on that. You see, there's some like little marks there, and you can make it smaller or you can make it bigger. If you make it bigger, it'll be easier to hit the enemy, right? So when this bullet here collides, and I've set a tag on this bullet, when it collides with him, this function onTriggerEnter gets called, and then it looks at, it has one parameter which is called other, and it has all it does is it looks at what the tag is on that collider object. If it's a bullet, then it sets its animation to die, right? Then it makes the agent move at 0 speed because it's dead, and sets. And also, one thing I do is I increase my own score, right? There's also a tutorial on that. How do you access your score that was in your game controller? You remember that thing we did, one of the very first things we did, right? We created a canvas. This thing, we had a score text, a health text, game status, current level text, right? Do you remember that? Yeah. So, and then on our character, we created this game controller script, and in this game controller script, we were using that to update the score and the health depending on what happened, right? Where is it? I'm gonna open. Here it is. This game controller script. So when our enemy gets hit, it's calling that a function I created in game controller script to increase the score, right? But there's also a tutorial on that. But what I just wanted to show you was like just how colliders work. So maybe you can either do this with me now or do it afterwards, and it's fairly simple. So all you've got to do is let's click on him. Let's create just a simple cube, right? And the cube's over here. So I'm going to move the cube back a little bit towards us. Yeah.
Like make it the cube explodes.
We could do that. All we're going to do is make it disappear, basically. So the first thing you need to do is you need to set a tag on the cube so we know when he has collided with that cube. So I select the cube and I go to the inspector and I go to tag and I add tag, and I'm going to just add a cube tag like that. And then I have to reselect it. I go back into tag and I select that tag that I've just created. Our character, it's a really important thing that your script has, well, your character has, is that it's got to have a rigid body and it also has to have a collider. So if you want to pick up collisions, one of your objects has to have a rigid body, and a rigid body, it means that the physics engine is turned on, right? So it means that we can react to gravity, or we can react to other objects. So we can fall with gravity, or we can react to other objects. We can bounce off them. And one of the things you need to do for that is to pick up collisions. So one of your objects has to have a rigid body. They both have to have colliders. And then we're going to, on what the box collider, we need to tick this is trigger thing, right? So if I tick that, it will call back to the script and like trigger that on trigger function, so we can pick up a collision. So so back in our move script, so on our character, we have to look at the move script here. If I edit this, I'm going to add this function. So again, this comes from Unity's docs. You can go and look up the article here, and you can look at examples of how they used it. So I'm just going to copy this over so I don't make any mistakes. And I go back to the move script. I think it's this one. And I'm going to add that function here. So when I collide with the box, because I tick that is trigger thing, this function's going to get triggered, right? And the first thing you need to do in this is you need to check what thing is collided with. So using this parameter other, we can check a property of it, tag, right? And we set that tag to cube. So if that is true, if we have collided with a cube, then what we'll do is we'll print something saying we hit a cube, like that. And what we want to do now is we're just going to destroy the cube as well. So you can destroy any game object by using this destroy function, and then you have to pass in the game object of it. So this collider other has a game object attached to it. So I could do other.game object, and that will get the game object of that cube. So go back to here, let this refresh. So we've set all the things up now. So this cube has a tag cube, so we know what we've collided with. It's also got a collider, and we have to tick is trigger. And also our character has a rigid body, so the physics engine is activated, so collisions can be picked up, so that when it walks into that, this on trigger function, which we added to his move script, will get triggered, right? So let's see if that works. Yeah, I forgot to put equals equals. If you're trying to compare two things, like we're trying to compare this other.tag, which is a string, to the name of the tag, right? So save that. And obviously the things you can, once you've understood how to set up collisions, you can do anything really. You know, you could create objects in the game that you can pick up to get extra points or extra health. And also the same collision system is being used when I shoot a bullet. And when that bullet collides with my enemy, it picks up on that collision and it triggers a death animation. So that's the basic fundamentals of games, really. Picking up collisions and making things happen in the game and that react to it. So now if I walk up to that cube, you can see it hit. I got this message: we hit a cube, and the cube disappeared, and I'm still getting chased by these guys.
How do you lock the mouse into the thing? So like if you move the mouse, it won't go off the screen. Or you need to make it custom like that.
Yeah, you've got to. There we go. I shot them all. You in your somewhere in one of the scripts here, like game controller, or I think it would probably move script.
It'll be on the user. Like crossing something.
You could do that. Yeah. So basically, I think if you want but he's asking about if you want the mouse to disappear. So in our mouse look script, you have to add in here a command to make the mouse disappear, which is to go back into the tutorials. So we go to. So have a go at creating that cube, and have a go at setting up a tag on it, and then picking up the collision with it, and then you'll understand how the collision model thing works, and you could, then you have basically all the tools you need to create a game, because a game is basically about reacting to a player's movements and decisions and things that they collide with, whether it be a bullet or an object they want to pick up, and then updating it. Obviously, all these tutorials are here. So like tutorial 6, well, once you've done the walking and the movement, which is series 5, if you start looking at tutorial 6, that will pick up on if medium's working, by the way, because there's a problem with it this morning. I don't know if they fixed it. Oh yeah, it's working now. So to make that mouse disappear, you need to do this. You have to put in the start function cursor.locked mode. So I go back to this move script, mouse look script, and I do that. And now when I play this, the mouse will disappear, so I won't have that problem with it being able to click on other things. But having a crosshair would be really, really perfect. Because at the moment, I'm not 100% sure where he's shooting.
If they sent the gun.
You'd have to center the gun. You'd have to make sure that the gun was looking dead, dead on.
The gun, like, probably the model, right?
Yeah. I also think one of the problems with this is that my colliders on the enemies are too small. So also, this is one of the problems. You have to keep pressing the fire button to make the bullet appear. And I collide with the box disappears, and you could update score.